All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessings and salutation to the whole lake out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shah Bahashem, Rakakwadash, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right, and what I want to get into with this lesson, is dealing with teaching life. We're teaching life. You see, in these latter days, as the Lord has raised up, the prophets, pastors according to his own heart, is what feeding his people with knowledge and understanding. Well, we're getting knowledge and understanding about life. Immortality is being taught. And before we're changed to immortals, we're learning, how to live. We're learning, the righteousness and how to live. Because matter of fact, what is immortality based out of? And this is why Esau, Edom, will never be able to tap in to immortality, because when you go into, let's get this real quick in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1. All right, when you go to Wisdom of Solomon 1:15, it says, "For righteousness is immortal." You see that? For righteousness is immortal. So when you go into the concept of, immortality, well, righteousness leads to immortality, and we're teaching, righteousness, man. We're not perfect in the law, okay, but we're learning to appreciate, righteousness, man, and we keep the law to the best of our ability, what part we can keep, and we thirst to keep it, fully. That's why we thirst for those new bodies. We want those new bodies to be perfect, man, okay. But in this grace period, man, we're falling back in love with the righteousness of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. And it's through this teaching, that's setting a tone of righteousness amongst the believers, man. And it's leading to immortality. Faith in his word, faith in these prophecies is leading to immortality, man. Okay? But it begins with what? The teaching. You see? Because when you go to Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 11, it says, "The mouth of the righteous man is a well of life." And the well, it constantly draws water. And see, the way wells work, because water replenishes itself. Water is meant to replenish itself. That water that's on the ground, it replenishes itself. It pulls from certain water sources, even though groundwater, certain water soaks into the ground, and becomes water underground. You see? And it's just a constant replenishing, of the water. And we know Yahweh Bashem Al Shai is that source that we can constantly draw from. You see? So as we draw from Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, we become wells of life, man. We're teaching life. We're teaching our people how to live, man. We're being taught how to live, how to exist, man. And it's leading to us to be changed unto immortals, man. We're going to be perfected. Okay? And it says, "The mouth of the righteous man is a well of life, but violence covereth the mouth of the wicked man," which is Esau. That's why the theme of his kingdom is violence and unrest. Unrest and uproars. Okay, you look at the theme, like when this nigga talks, war break out. Okay? There's division, there's protest. You see, the music that he pushed, has a tone of what? Violence. His movie industry, violence, man. Okay? So the wicked with his mouth comes forth violence. Okay? To the point that there's going to be a third world war. You see, when the wicked in power, the earth is at war. Okay? Because that's what comes from his mouth. But see, in our kingdom, man, We're going to be a kingdom of life, man. Life is going to flourish under the rulership of Yahweh, okay, and the elect, man. You know, beginning with those first fruits. Now, when you go here, and it begins on this side with teaching, okay, this word, okay. Now, you go to Proverbs 13 and 14. It says, Proverbs 13 and 14 said, the law of the wise is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. Okay, because Esau, you know, he mixes pleasure with death. Okay, as if it's an upgrade from life. That's what he brought to Eve. Esau, the serpent, he brought death mixed with pleasure. You know, and presented as an upgrade from life, man. Okay? But nah, man, when you go into it, the law of the wise is a fountain of life, man. The more we tap into Yahweh B'Shem Al-Shai, the more alive we feel, man. You know? Like people talk about, you know, feeling alive. And well, there's no more feeling alive than living in Yahweh Shai, man. Because we can see no end. Because Yahweh Shai is coming to set up an eternal kingdom. You see, when we really start to tap into Yahweh Shai, we begin to put off the mortal way of thinking and put on the immortal, man. And it comes from the teaching of this word, man. The teaching of this word is making us think like immortals, man. To where we know this side ain't it, man. There's certain people that we're gonna lose. It ain't the end. 2/3, even 2/3. Okay, that's not the end of them. They gotta deal with a punishment now. You know, that's why it doesn't matter if it's our uncle, cousin, they get caught in that. Hey, that's the Lord judging his people. That's between them and the Lord. Okay? But that's not the end all be all, man. There's something beyond that than just them being punished, man. You know, which we shouldn't want no part of that, man, because it's going to be a horrific judgment, man. The Lord going to make 2/3 feel them. Okay? But as for the believers, man, like we're running to life, man. We running to live. You see, our hope is in life, man. You know, that's why we know Esau being removed from power is one big step forward for life, man. Because this man, he is the snare of death, man. You know, and you look at how he just infused death into everything, man. Everything has an overtone of death in this man's kingdom, man. You know, from the music, the food, family, okay, everything. His diplomacy leads to death. Okay? Well, you know, you're supposed to, you know, send your, your government officials talk peace, but that ends in death, man. Everything that this devil does, it has a death end game to it, man. The MOTB, that's death, man. The Lord, all right, has already issued the punishment for that. This man's still gonna push it anyway. Okay, Revelation 14:9. All right, there's a clear, okay, that there's a clear decree of what's going to happen if you take that seal. The wrath of the Most High without mixture, man. And he's finna push that as if it's life, man. Okay? But going back into it, this is Proverbs 16 and 22 says, understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that hath it. Okay? Understanding is a wellspring of life, man. It's the understanding of the scriptures, man. You see? This wisdom and understanding that we have, you know, is giving us life, man. It's springing up into life. As we apply, okay, these precepts to our day-to-day, man, it's giving us life. It's leading us to life, man, because it's leading us to be changed. Okay? So the more we tap into this word and apply this word, the more, all right, the closer we get to that immortality, man. And it's all through faith, because we're doing this through faith. Without faith, we wouldn't even see the point of doing it. But through faith, we believe that this is leading to immortality, man. And now we're starting to see, what life is about. And immortality makes sense. And that's the thing, too. The more we tap into righteousness, immortality makes sense. Living forever makes more sense when you tap into righteousness, man. okay, and really start to understand, okay, wisdom more and more. You know, brothers tapping into the earth, brothers starting to understand the herbs more, you know, the animals more, okay, agriculture, you know, brothers tapping into different things, and now immortality is making more sense, man. Okay, it all starts with what the preaching of this word, man. You see, he says understanding back in Proverbs 16:22. It says understanding is a wellspring of life unto him that hath it, but the instruction of fools is folly. Okay, and the instructions of fools, Esau, Edom, is folly, man. You see, you look at this devil and what he promotes in his kingdom, his instructions, okay, of fools, which is folly, man. He puts up these certain rappers, fools, okay, and make them the, you know, the spokesman for the masses, these certain celebrities or whatever, okay, and they push nothing but folly, man. Okay, but on the flip side, man, the Lord has raised up pastors that has life flowing out of them, man. You know, was this life is leading to immortality. That's why. Let's go to what's that, Saint John chapter 7 and 38. And remember, it's all activated by faith. You know, you have faith in immortality, faith in the age beyond this world, faith in Yahushua returning. Okay, and taking down the man of sin, the man of death, Esau, man. Putting these heathens in subjection, man. We have faith in them, man. So we're already rehearsing for the post-war life that's to come. When we rehearse the righteous acts, we're rehearsing for life, okay, after Yahushua has conquered the heathen. Okay? We're going to be able to, you know, be righteous, okay? We're going to be able to flourish in righteousness, man. When Yahushua comes and does what he's going to do. You see? This is the book of John chapter 7 verse 38. Says, he that believeth on me, as the scripture have said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. So it begins with belief. He that believeth on me, as the scripture have said, out of his belly, which goes into your mental faculty, okay, shall flow rivers of living water. And you read this in the NLT, it says, anyone who believes in me may come and drink. For the scripture declare rivers of living water will flow from his heart, which is his mind. Okay, so as we tap into Yahushua, you know, we're connected to the source of life, man. And brothers become a well of life, you know, that the believers can draw from. You know, we're teaching life. We're preaching life, man. That's why I'm saying we're not on this low-level slave mentality, baby daddy, ghetto drama. No, we way beyond that, man. We're talking about living, man. You see, we talking about living forever, man. You see, the Lord got us on another frequency now. This word puts us on another frequency, man. We talking about really living. Okay, and when you go from there, from St. John 14. It's the book of St. John, chapter 14, verse 13. It says, and whosoever ye shall ask in my, it's like St. John, chapter 4. Oh, my bad. St. John, chapter 4. It's the book of St. John, chapter 4, and verse 13. It says, and Yahushua answered and said unto her, this the woman at the well. All right, well, she was a heathen. It said, whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life, man. And this water is this word, man. The true understanding of this word. Okay? Because if you're into Christianity, you're full of questions. You don't know what's going on. You're not being quenched. You see, when we draw from the water of truth, we get understanding that thirst, you know, that spiritual thirst gets quenched. You know, we get understanding. That's why these lessons are so soothing. That's why reading is so soothing to the spirit, because it's actually quenching our spirit. You see? We have answers, and we can go to the scriptures and get clarity, get that nourishment, man. Okay, but Christianity is not giving you anything. Islam is not giving you anything. Okay, it's empty, man. Okay, nigga culture, these things, they're not giving you anything. It's empty. They're teaching you how to die. Okay, that's why it's always a when you look at our people, they keep going backwards because they're not being nourished. So it's a culture. Like Christianity is going backwards, man. To Christianity is a joke. There was a time even when Christianity had some type of morals and a little structure. They didn't have knowledge and understanding, but they had a little morals and structure. Now you can't tell Christianity apart from the neighborhood. Okay, why is that, man? You see, because it's all just the same path to death. Okay, it all leading to the same end game, which is death, man, and confusion. You see, but with this word, man, we're being revived. We're being made more alive. We're constantly coming to life, more and more. We're constantly coming to life as our people are getting darker and darker. Like I say, Christianity, black culture, street culture. What you want, westernization. Feminism. All those things are getting darker and darker, and it's making less and less sense as truth is springing out. And that's another thing. Truth is making everything else wither away, making everything else foolish, man. Okay, because as we're coming to life, and our people are constantly going backwards and more into death. You see. So yeah, this word is becoming, everlasting. What they call it, spring. We read it again, and it says, "But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water, springing up into everlasting life, man." And that's beautiful. It says springing up. We're going up, and those chairs are gonna be changed at the twinkling of an eye. As we live this word, as we believe, and we continue to live this word, man, eventually it's gonna spring up, and we're gonna be changed, man. You see, the Lord has us going through a process, man. This is amazing. The Lord has us on the path to be immortals, man. Okay, and just like Moses. All right. Well, before we go there, let's get this in Proverbs chapter 8. It's Proverbs 8 and 35. All right. It said, "For whoso findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai." So we found Yahweh Shai, we found life. We found purpose. We found righteousness, man. We found truth. Okay? And this is just the beginning, man. We're just scratching the surface of wisdom. The way that we're going to know how the earth works in those new bodies. You see? The way that we're going to, be able to, enforce, okay, and implement this wisdom in the earth, in the kingdom, man. It's only the beginning. You see, we walked into some real favor, man. Lord will that number. We've been chosen for favor, man. You see, so you go to Deuteronomy 30, and we end it here, Deuteronomy 30 and 19, and it goes into, it said, I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. All right, therefore choose life, all right, that you and thy seed may live. Okay, because there's going to be whole houses chose because, men have chosen life. In these last days, there's going to be whole houses saved behind that, man. Because that's the thing, too. This wisdom is all about, the next generation as well. Not only, and that's one thing This world teaches us to be one generational thinking. Okay? But you go into the scriptures and you start to put on the immortal, you begin to think of generations. Generations, man. You know, and this wisdom is setting it up for, because there's gonna be a generation, okay, that's gonna benefit from what we're doing now. You see, we've been separated from that concept of one generation setting up the next generation to thrive. Okay? And the beautiful thing about the kingdom, we're always going to be there to see every generation after us thrive, man. Lord will, we are the first, batch. Okay? We are that first go around. We'll deliver this first go around. You know, we're going to see every generation thrive off what Yahweh Shai did, and off what the elect is doing, okay, with BLC. Every generation after that thrive because of that, man. You see? So Lord will, we endure. Lord will, we keep, becoming, okay, immortal. We're becoming immortal now, man. We really got to start to think like that, So Lord will, you brothers and you few sisters are edified. Till next time I say Shalom. Kwame Shalom, Baba Basum, Shalom.